Hello, this is Adore from BricsMaven, and in this video we'll be exploring Figma token variables, and I'll show you how beneficial it is for easy management and uniformity. In the previous video, why we need a design system, I showed you guys the difference between a section that has no tokens, no styling, and a section that has tokens and styling, and we saw how easy it is to make changes on the section with tokens and styling. And we also looked at some variables, but in this video we're going to just look at the Figma tokens and ask ourselves the question, okay, what is a token? Just to be blunt, a token is just basically it stores a piece of information, which could be a color, it could be a font weight, it could be a font size. It just stores a specific piece of information, and that same piece of information can be reused over your whole file, and by just making a single change to it, it will affect every single element that has been tagged with that token. So with that being said, how do we use it? So we have a section here that has no token. So for example, let's look at this card, right? We're gonna select all the three cards, and you see no token has been used. We just have our values. There's a 32 horizontal padding, so left and right, and a vertical padding of 32, top and bottom. And we have our gap, which is could say a gap I should have known in with CSS. It's 24, but we could now give it a variable by first of all clicking the field and clicking on the drop down, apply variable. In this case, we want a content gap. So we add a content gap here. It's added now to all three cards, so we can now control the gap of all three cards as we want. I could say make it smaller, as you can see, or make it larger. And the reason why we're also using tokens is for consistency, uniformity, right? So every single section, every single div that contains content will be using the content gap token that allows us to control the spacing between the elements. So that consistency will be seen throughout our whole website, which keeps things uniformity, and it doesn't things will not look out of place. So we'll not have like three different cards with three different spacings, which you could get if you're not using standards, right? If you're not using a design system. Same goes for the padding. So we could say here, in this case, we're using the spacing. It's 32 here. We could say, okay, we want it smaller, it becomes smaller, or we want it larger. And we can also do the same for the top. Just say space and 42, and we'll make it larger, or we could say smaller. You get the point, or very large. So we're making changes and applying tokens to the card, and you can visually see those changes being applied to them. And we all just added them from obviously from the panel, and you can just add whatever token you want. Same thing goes for the color. For the background, we could give it also a token. We could say ultra neutral and say neutral ultra light, so they all have a gray background. It's just see it the same way as you are just adding. I would say if you're used to adding utility classes, right? You're just slapping the card with utility classes, background utility class, padding utility class, etc., etc., or just also adding variables to your class, right? And for the stroke, okay, give it a stroke, say neutral, give it a neutral light stroke. Obviously, you can apply. There's no token for the border size. I would say yet. Maybe in the future they'll add that. And we could go on to say, okay, we wanna add a radius of 16. There, they get a radius. We could bump it up a little bit more if you want, or we could even make it more if we so desired. And now we have used tokens on our cards, and these cards can now be changed. So if we, for example, change the token of our space in Excel. So for example, I'll go to the local variables, and for our space in Excel, it's set to 48, and we have space L, which is 32, space XSL is 64. I could say, okay, I want this to be a little bit larger. I could make it 56, and it will affect our cards. So now from one place, we can change our padding, right? We can just start making changes just because the elements have been tagged with the token. So let me just put that back real quick. And to just continue in this panel, this is where you can find all the tokens, right? We have spacing tokens, which control the space between your elements. We have section space. This section space actually is designed for the top and bottom space padding of your sections. The sections padding is designed for the left and right padding, or in this case, your inline start and end, the line start and end of your section. The content gap is designed for the spacing between your contents. Container gap is designed for the spacing between the elements in your container. The grid gap is designed for the gap between your grid items, because you can use, obviously, this would be in this case, if you are used to CSS, let me just remove this. This would be a grid, right? A 3-column grid. And then we have a grid gap here. So we're using the grid gap token to space that out. And obviously you can control the space. You can make it smaller or a bit larger. Depends on whatever you want. So let's just go back to the tokens panel. And let's continue. We have our radius. We just use the radius. These are all the values. So this is the name, and this is the values. And we have the colors. So all the colors are represented here: primary, secondary, tertiary, base light, neutral, accent, black and white, and all the color and the typography colors are also represented here. We have our headings, we have our body text, accent headings, and link text, which can all be changed, and they're all mapped with the color variables that you can find here. So making changes here will directly affect your file. So we use the neutral light here, right? So let's go to neutral. We use our neutral light. So we could go to our neutral, and you can make it lighter if you want, just a bit lighter, and to change everywhere. So I'm just gonna bring that back. And the same goes for every token you see here. Once an element has been tagged with a token, you can come here and make those changes here, and to affect the design. Width. We have width variables, tokens. Desktop width is just basically your, let's say the resolution of your screen. You can change that here, and in this case, this section has been tagged with, I'll just change the container width to show you real quick. So this is a container width of 1400. So in Bricks, you would have your container, which you can set the width of, right? That's your site contents width. And you can easily change it here. You could say, okay, I want this to be 10,040, and it will change it, as you can see. And this will also affect your container on every single block. I think it also, wait, I didn't remove, okay, I didn't remove it here. So see what it did. But let's just bring that back so that it will restore it. So it's giving you control over your design. So your sections are tagged with tokens, your containers are tagged with tokens, just to make things easier. And you can just put in the value of your screen, of your container width, and start building with that setting. The mobile width and content width will be removed. They'll be deprecated. Why? Because we're using the mobile mode or modes. Modes just um, modes can be used for different there are different ways you can use it, but we're using it here for changing sizes. Same in this case, if I was to come, let me show you real quick. So I'll select this a section. I'll go to a layer here, and on the icon on the right, on the top right, it says change variable mode. So we have our desktop mode and our mobile mode. If I switch it to the mobile mode, it will change your the section token, the section token width and the container width. So this is what you get. So this is mobile mode, and you would have to go to the individual columns, etc., and then fix this. Like you say, okay, this is instead of a horizontal layout to be a vertical layout. In this case, it's a row instead of a column, right? So we fix that, and this would be this section here is also tagged with the device. You could say, hey, instead of desktop, it should be mobile. So now it's mobile, and if you noticed, once we switch to a mobile mode on the layer, it will also apply the size. The sizes will also become a little bit smaller, which you can see here to just show you. So our spacings, you can see the spacings are pretty the same, also mobile, right? Section spacing, also the same. Section padding are also the same. But once it comes to like container gaps, we have different spacing. So oh wait, here is also the same. I'm trying to show you. I'm going to see where there's a difference. Okay, on the container gap, for example, we have like space XXL, and on mobile it's smaller, it's XL. So the spacing between the elements in the container are much smaller on mobile. Let's go to width because there's where you see the big changes. So on desktop we have our resolution is 1600. On mobile the resolution is 480. So to make that smaller, to just make that change, and the change happens because the frame has been tagged with a token. And also with font size we have that too. So you see here from the, where does it start? Yeah, from the 3x it starts changing. So our font size is, so a H1 on desktop would become 48 on mobile. You could also have it. You could also create a tablet mode. You could create dark and light mode, and that would then affect colors, right? Because on mobile I kept the colors the same. But I could say, for example, um, on mobile the color should become red. You could, so modes are very it's very a powerful tool to use. But in this on the Alpha Figma UI Kit, I'm really purposely using it for changing sizes of font sizes and gaps. And in the future I'll be creating dark and light mode. So I'll create a new mode that you can switch to, which would just be I think it will be dark mode, because the current setting is actually light. So there will not be light, or the light mode will just be the desktop. But I'll just see how I'm going to do that. But for now, what you just need to know is what the possibilities are with the Figma tokens and how powerful they are. So let's say you want to add your own. And you might ask, okay, can I add my own? Yes, you can add your own. You say create variable, and you create a number variable, right? So you might have space, maybe 5XL, maybe you want a larger space. So in this case, it's 128, so you may go for 164. And on mobile, you might say, okay, it's 140, right? So you have a new spacing variable. And then you must always go here to choose where it should be displayed, where the scope is. So if you don't change the scope, it will show it on every field. So it will show it on the gap field, on the width field, but we don't want that, right? So we remove this. We want the spacing variable to show on the, let me see, I think it should be gap. Let me look where I put it before. Yeah, on the gap. So it should show on the gap. That's just where we want it. It should not show anywhere. It should not show on the radius. It should show the width and height. We don't want it to show there. So always keep in mind to do that, or else if you create variables, it will show in places that you don't want them to be, and you will just get an unnecessary long list. So with that being said, let's reset some things, and let's use this spacing just to show you how it's then applied. So I'm going to just go back to desktop mode, reset this back to desktop, and put this back to a row. So we see here we have our container gap, which is 64. Okay, normally I'm using spacing, right? So I just want to show you. Wait, let's go to space. So here, 5XL. So this is not normally I would do, but I just want to show you that we just created a new variable and now it's visible in the list. And by clicking on space 5XL, it's getting applied, right? So this is our new spacing, and you can basically do that for every other variable. You can create new colors. You can create extra grid gaps if you need them. You can create new content gaps if you need them. You can create more font sizes if you need them, if this is not enough, right? You can even create specific font sizes for headings and for body text. So this is just a lot of stuff you can do. But we're giving you the basic stuff so that you can work with it, and you can at least know how to use this file. And just one thing, just a few more things I want to mention before I end this video. We have paragraph spacing, which are all mapped with the spacing tokens, except the 3XL, 4XL. We added our own numbers, so this ones you can change yourself. Reason being is because, wait, let me see, spacing Excel. We just I wanted to give space for your own. You could fill this in yourself. Letter spacing, the same thing. We also map this with tokens. So letter spacing is just the spacing between your letters. Line height, also the same thing. Added some values here and there. Some things I had to change because I noticed that in some places it can become a little bit it might be too large, and by adding your own numbers this will still give you some control. And I could create extra tokens, but since these tokens are the ones that you're familiar with, I just added my own numbers. You can always add your own tokens here if you want. Size, same thing. Font sizes are here. Font weight, you can just leave this because these are just the font weight that we know of. So if your font does not have a specific font weight, you might not see it. So always check which fonts you use, and also tweak the font weight that is applicable to it. Or else, if you have a font that, for example, does not have a 700 font weight, you might not see it being applied. So always check which fonts when you're using fonts. And font family here, oh, I should really show this one. So this now we're using the outfit font family and the DM Sans font family for the body. And you see here, you can also on mobile, you can give it a different font, which we're not going to do. So if I was to say, hey, I don't want the outfit, I want Arial. No, not Arial. I want Fig Tree. It will go through my file, go to all the headings, and this will really take a long time, and then to make the changes. So you see it's changed here. I'm waiting for the heading. So yeah, there it goes. So you see it changed. So this is where you can change your font family. You can change the body text. Obviously, it's based on I think your system fonts. I think also Google fonts. So let me just put outfit back to just switch that back. Okay, I think I have exhausted this. I've explained a lot about the tokens and how to apply them, what they are, and in the previous video we also saw how life looked like without them, and you can see why tokens are needed and how you can apply them, and also how you can also obviously create your own tokens. So In the next video, I'll be going into typography variables, and we'll just go over how to edit them and also apply them. Yeah, we'll see. We'll just do some great stuff with it. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.